Captain June stared at the glowing controls in front of him. The ship hummed with energy as Dr. Hana checked her instruments one more time. They were about to make history. This was humanity's first real test of faster-than-light travel. "All systems look good, Captain," said Lieutenant Tay from his station. The young officer's voice was steady, but June could hear the excitement underneath. They all felt it. After years of looking at the stars and wondering if they were alone, they were finally going to find out. The ship Seeker was not big by Earth standards. It carried only 12 people, but it was packed with the most advanced technology humanity had ever built. Dr. Hana had worked for 10 years to create the drive that would push them faster than light. Engineer Mira had made sure every system worked perfectly. They were ready. "Beginning countdown," Hana said, her fingers dancing over the controls. 10, 9, 8. June looked out the window at the stars. In a few seconds, they would be somewhere no human had ever been. The plan was simple. Jump to a nearby star system, take some readings, and jump back. Easy. 3, 2, 1. Jump. The universe twisted. That was the only way June could describe it later. Everything stretched and bent like someone was pulling, reality apart. The stars outside became long lines of light. His stomach felt like it was trying to escape through his ears. Then suddenly everything stopped. But something was wrong. Captain," Mira said, staring at her screens. "We have a problem." June looked outside and his mouth fell open. They were not in empty space as planned. They were in the middle of the biggest space battle he had ever seen. No, not a battle. Ships were lined up in perfect rows like they were showing off. Thousands of ships. Giant ships that made the Seeker look like a toy. "What is that?" Tay whispered. The ships were unlike anything humans had imagined. They were huge, covered in lights and shaped like nothing from Earth. Some looked like crystals, others like giant sea creatures. All of them were clearly built by someone else. Someone not human. "We are not alone," Hana said quietly. Suddenly, alarms started going off. Mira's hands flew over her controls. "Captain, they are scanning us. Multiple ships are turning toward us. I think we surprised them as much as they surprised us." June's mind raced. They had jumped into the middle of what looked like an alien navy. The biggest alien navy anyone could imagine. And judging by how the ships were moving, they were not happy to see uninvited guests. "Sir," Tay said, his voice tight, "I am reading weapons charging on at least 50 ships, big weapons. This was not the plan. The plan was to visit an empty star system, not crash a party thrown by aliens with very big guns." June had to think fast. What would aliens expect from a strange ship that appeared out of nowhere? "Hana, can we jump again?" he asked. "Not yet. The drive needs time to cool down. At least 10 minutes. 10 minutes they probably did not have. The alien ships were getting closer and more were turning their way. Some of them were so big that the Seeker could probably park inside their cargo holds. "Open all communication channels," June ordered. "All of them. Every frequency we have." "Sir?" Tay looked confused. "Trust me," June said. He took a deep breath. Sometimes the best defense was a good story. "This is Captain June of the Terran Federation Ship Seeker. We are advanced scouts of the Terran Federation and we greet you in peace." Terran Federation? Hana looked at him like he had lost his mind. There was no Terran Federation. There was just Earth, and Earth had no idea aliens existed until about 2 minutes ago. The alien ships stopped moving toward them. The weapons were still charged, but they were not firing. That was good. Maybe. "Sir," Mira said, "I am getting responses. Lots of them. In languages I have never heard, but the computer is trying to translate." The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. The aliens were asking who they were, where they came from, and what they wanted. Some sounded scared. Others sounded angry. A few sounded curious. "Keep transmitting," June told Tay. "Tell them we come from far away and we have been watching their activities from a distance. Tell them we want to talk." It was the biggest lie in human history, but it seemed to be working. The alien ships were not shooting. In fact, more ships were arriving, but they were keeping their distance like they were being careful. "Captain," Hana whispered. What are you doing? Buying us time, June whispered back, and maybe saving our lives. More messages came in. Deu. Computer was getting better at translating. The aliens were calling themselves the Valyrian Empire. They ruled thousands of worlds. They had never heard of the Terran Federation, and they wanted to know where humans came from. June realized something important. These aliens had big ships and lots of weapons, but they seemed scared of one small human ship. That meant they thought, humans might have even bigger ships and more weapons somewhere else. Hana, he said quietly, how long until we can jump? 5 more minutes. Mira, can you make our ship look more impressive on their sensors? The engineer smiled for the first time since they arrived. I can boost our power readings, make us look like we have weapons we do not have, make our engines look more advanced than theirs. Do it. While Mira worked, more messages came in. The aliens wanted to meet. They wanted to talk. They were offering safe passage and diplomatic meetings. The tone was respectful, even worried. Captain, Tay said, reading the latest message. They are asking if we represent a threat to their empire. June looked out at the thousands of alien ships. An empire that big had to be powerful beyond imagination. But they were asking him if humans were a threat. That meant they thought humans might be even more powerful. Tell them, June said slowly, that the Terran Federation prefers peace to war. Tell them we are willing to discuss diplomatic relations. It was crazy. 12 humans in one small ship talking to an empire of thousands of worlds. But somehow it was working. Drive is ready, Hana said. June made a decision that would change everything. Send them coordinates. Tell them where we want to meet for diplomatic talks. Then prepare to jump. Where? Tay asked. June smiled. Somewhere we can prepare for the biggest bluff in human history. 3 days later, the Seeker waited at the edge of an empty star system. Captain June had chosen this place because it was far from any worlds, giving them space to run if things went wrong. But now, looking at what was coming toward them, running might not be possible. The Valyrian fleet was massive. Dr. Hana counted over 200 ships, from small fighters to city-sized battleships. Their leader was Admiral Vextar, an ancient creature that looked like a cross between a tree and a spider. His flagship was so big it had its own weather systems. They could destroy us with one shot, Lieutenant Tay said quietly. But they won't, June replied. They think we might have 1,000 ships just like us waiting somewhere else. The past 3 days had been the busiest of their lives. Diplomat Quan, who had joined the mission to handle any unexpected situations, had spent every hour learning what they could about the Valyrian Empire from their transmissions. What he found was both amazing and terrifying. The Empire was huge. It covered half the galaxy and included hundreds of different alien species. Some had joined willingly. Others had been conquered. They had technology that could destroy stars, and ships that could travel between galaxies. But they also had problems. Big problems. Their empire is falling apart, Quan explained to the crew. They have rebellions on dozens of worlds. Their economy is broken. Their leaders are old and scared of change. They have not fought a real war in 1,000 years. That explained why they were being so careful with humans. The Valyrians were powerful, but they were also weak. They were afraid that one more enemy might be the thing that finally broke their empire. Trader Bin, who had been studying their economic data, added more bad news for the aliens. Their money system is crazy. They have 17 different currencies, and none of them work well together. Trade between worlds takes months to arrange. They waste more resources in a day than Earth uses in a year. Engineer Mira had been looking at their technology. Their ships are incredible, but also incredibly stupid. This flagship probably uses enough power to run all of Earth, just to keep the lights on. Their computers are the size of buildings, but slower than my tablet. It is like they built everything to be as complicated as possible. Dr. Hana was excited despite their dangerous situation. Do you know what this means? Our primitive technology might actually be better than theirs in some ways. We could teach them things they have never thought of. The Valyrian flagship was getting closer. Soon, they would have to start their biggest performance ever. June gathered his crew around the small meeting table. "Remember," he said, "we are not 12 humans in one ship. We are representatives of the powerful Terran Federation. We have been watching the galaxy for a long time. We have technology they have never seen. We are here because we choose to be here, not because we are lost." "What if they ask to see our homeworlds?" Tay asked. "We tell them our worlds are far away and well protected. We tell them humans prefer to keep their locations secret until we trust new species." "What if they want to trade?" Ben asked. "We tell them we will consider it, but human technology is very advanced and very secret." The meeting took place on Admiral Vextar's flagship. The humans had never seen anything like it. The walls were made of living crystal that changed colors with the Admiral's mood. The ceiling showed a real-time view of the galaxy, with every Valyrian world marked in gold light. The air itself seemed to sparkle. Admiral Vextar was older than human civilization. His voice sounded like wind through caves, and when he moved, his body creaked like old wood, but his eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Welcome, humans," he said through a translation device. "I have ruled fleets for 3,000 years, but I have never encountered a species like yours. Your ship appeared in our most secure space without warning. Our sensors could not detect how you did this. The Terran Federation has developed advanced movement technology," June said calmly. "We prefer to observe before we act." "Observe?" The Admiral's crystal walls flashed red. "You have been watching us? The galaxy is large, Admiral. The Terran Federation has been aware of many species for some time. We study civilizations before we make contact. This was all lies, but it seemed to be working." The Admiral's walls shifted to yellow, which their computer said meant curiosity or concern. "What have you observed about our empire?" June looked at Quan, who stepped forward. "You have built something impressive, Admiral. An empire spanning thousands of worlds, hundreds of species working together. But you also face challenges." "What challenges?" "Your outer worlds grow restless. Your economy struggles with inefficiency. Your technology is powerful but wasteful. Some of your member species question their place in the empire." The Admiral's walls went dark blue. Surprise. Everything the humans had said was true, and they had learned it in just 3 days. "How could you know this?" "As I said, we observe." June was getting more confident. "The Terran Federation has experience with large civilizations. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have learned what works and what does not. And what works?" Dr. Hana spoke up. "Efficiency. Giving people reasons to want to belong instead of forcing them to belong. Using technology that helps instead of technology that shows off." To prove her point, she pulled out her tablet computer. It was nothing special by human standards, just a simple device that could access information, play videos, and run basic programs. But when she showed it to the Admiral, his walls flashed white with shock. "This device," he said, "it processes information faster than our main computers, and it is so small." "Human technology focuses on efficiency," Hana explained. "Why use a room-sized computer when a small one works better?" Admiral Vextar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "The Terran Federation. How many worlds do you control?" "We prefer not to control worlds," June said. "We prefer partnerships." "How many ships do you have?" "Enough." "How many beings live under your protection?" "Those who choose to." These answers said nothing, but they sounded wise and powerful. The Admiral seemed impressed. "I must speak with the Emperor," Vextar said. "He will want to meet representatives of the Terran Federation. Will you come to our capital world?" June looked at his crew. They were all scared, but they were also excited. They had come this far with their impossible bluff. Why not see where it led? "The Terran Federation accepts your invitation," he said. The Valyrian capital world was beyond anything humans had imagined. Cities floated in the clouds, connected by bridges of pure light. Mountains had been carved into massive sculptures that told the history of the empire. The ocean itself glowed with bioluminescent creatures that had been bred to create patterns visible from space. Captain June and his crew stood in the Imperial Palace, waiting to meet Emperor Kalith. The palace was carved from a single enormous crystal that reached from the planet's surface to its upper atmosphere. Inside, gravity worked differently in each room, allowing impossible architecture that hurt to look at. "I feel like an ant in a cathedral," whispered Engineer Mira. "Stay confident," June whispered back. "Remember, we are representatives of the powerful Terran Federation." But privately, June was starting to worry. Their bluff had worked so far, but what happened when the Emperor asked them to prove their claims? What happened when he wanted to see human worlds or human fleets? Emperor Kalith was not what they expected. He was small, barely taller than a human child, with skin that looked like polished metal and eyes like liquid silver. But when he spoke, his voice filled the enormous throne room. "Humans," he said, "you have caused quite a stir in my empire." "We did not mean to cause problems, Your Majesty," June said carefully. "Problems? No, you have caused hope." The Emperor's silver eyes seemed to see right through them. "My admirals tell me you have technology we have never seen. My diplomats say you understand our empire's challenges better than we do ourselves. My scientists are fascinated by your simple but effective devices." Commander Sewell, who had been quiet during most of their journey, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, the Terran Federation has experience with large organizations. We have learned that size alone does not create strength." "Explain." Sewell had been a military officer on Earth, and he understood strategy. An empire is only as strong as its weakest part. If your outer worlds are unhappy, they become weak points. If your economy is inefficient, it drains strength from everything else. If your technology is wasteful, you spend resources on the wrong things. The Emperor was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "I am dying." The humans looked at each other in surprise. This was not something they had expected. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. "I have ruled for 800 years, and I am tired. My empire is vast, but it is also fragile. Rebellions grow stronger each year. Our economy struggles under its own weight. Our technology has not truly advanced in centuries. I need solutions, and my advisors give me only excuses." He looked directly at Captain June. "You appeared from nowhere with technology my best scientists cannot understand. You analyzed our empire's problems in days when my advisors have failed for decades. I have a proposal." "What kind of proposal?" June asked, though he was afraid of the answer. "Help me save my empire. Become my advisors. Show us these efficient technologies and wise strategies you speak of. In return, the Valerian Empire will share its knowledge and resources with the Terran Federation." June's mind raced. They were 12 humans with one small ship, being asked to help save an empire of thousands of worlds. It was impossible, it was crazy, it was... "We would be honored to help," he heard himself saying. The next few weeks were the strangest of their lives. The humans found themselves living in the Imperial Palace, given titles they did not understand, and responsibilities they had never imagined. Engineer Mira was asked to look at Valerian ship designs. What she found amazed her. "Their engines are incredible," she told the others, "but they waste 90% of their power on unnecessary systems. It is like they built everything to look impressive instead of work well." She suggested simple changes: smaller power cores, better energy routing, computers that actually computed instead of just looking fancy. The Valerian engineers thought she was crazy until they tested her ideas. The new designs were 10 times more efficient and half the cost. Trader Bin was asked about economic problems. "Your trade system is insane," he told the Imperial Treasury Minister. "It takes 6 months to buy grain from one world and ship it to another. On Earth, we can move goods around the planet in days." He showed them simple ideas: standardized currencies, computerized trading systems, supply chains that actually made sense. The Valerians had never thought of such things. They had always done business the complicated way because that was how it had always been done. Commander Sewell was asked about the rebellions. "Your military strategy is terrible," he told the Imperial generals. You use massive fleets to attack single planets. It is like using a hammer to perform surgery. He explained human military history. Small, fast strikes, cutting off supply lines instead of attacking fortresses. Most importantly, understanding why people rebelled in the first place. People do not rebel because they are evil, he said. They rebel because they are unhappy. Make them less unhappy, and they will stop rebelling. Dr. Hana was asked about technology. Your science is backwards, she told the Imperial Academy. You focus on making things bigger and more complicated. Real advancement comes from making things simpler and better. She showed them human computers, human engines, human communication systems. Everything was smaller, faster, and more reliable than what the Valerians had. The alien scientists were embarrassed and excited at the same time. But the more they learned about the Empire, the more uncomfortable the humans became. The Valerians were not evil, but their empire was built on some very bad ideas. Entire species were treated as slaves. Worlds were stripped of resources with no thought for the people living there. Anyone who complained was silenced. We are helping to make oppression more efficient, Diplomat Quan said, during one of their private meetings. What choice do we have? June replied. If we say no, they might decide the Terran Federation is an enemy instead of an ally. But if we keep helping, we become part of the problem. The decision was made for them when a major rebellion broke out in the Outer Rim. 3 star systems declared independence from the Empire. The Imperial fleet was preparing to destroy them completely. Emperor Kaleth called June to his private chambers. My generals want to make an example of these rebels. They want to destroy their worlds and relocate the survivors to prison planets. That seems excessive, Your Majesty. It does not it? The Emperor's silver eyes were sad. But it is how we have always handled rebellions. It is the Valerian way. Perhaps, June said carefully, the Terran Federation way might work better. What would your Federation do? June took a deep breath. We would ask why they rebelled. We would fix their problems instead of destroying their worlds. We would show them that staying in the Empire is better than leaving it. And if that does not work, then we would let them go. An empire that holds people by force alone is not an empire. It is a prison. The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, I am making you my personal representative to handle this rebellion. Use your Terran methods. Show me if there is a better way. June realized what had just happened. The Emperor had not just asked for advice. He had put a human in charge of imperial policy. 12 people with one small ship were about to reshape how an empire of thousands of worlds treated its own citizens. We will not let you down, Your Majesty, June said, hoping he was not making the biggest mistake in human history. Admiral Yuna had never expected to command a fleet of alien warships, but that was exactly what she was doing. 3 weeks ago, she had been the Seeker's backup pilot. Now she stood on the bridge of a Valerian battleship, leading a combined fleet of 200 ships toward the rebellious Outer Rim. But this was not the usual Imperial response to rebellion. There would be no planet-destroying weapons, no mass executions, no forced relocations. Captain June had convinced Emperor Kaleth to try something new, something human. Approaching the Kepler system, reported the Valerian navigation officer. The rebels have fortified 3 planets and are refusing all communication. Any signs of hostile action? Yuna asked. No, Admiral. They are staying in defensive positions. Yuna nodded. This was exactly what Commander Sul had predicted. People who are truly evil attack first, he had explained. People who are just unhappy wait to see what you will do. She opened a communication channel to the rebel planets. This is Admiral Yuna representing the Terran Federation and the Valerian Empire. I am here to talk, not to fight. I want to understand why you have chosen to rebel. The response came quickly. Terran Federation? The rebel leader sounded confused. We have never heard of your people, but if you represent the Empire, we have nothing to say to you. I do not represent the Empire as it was, Yuna replied. I represent the Empire as it could be. Give me 1 hour of your time. If you do not like what I have to say, I will leave. There was a long pause. Finally, the rebel leader agreed to meet on a neutral space station. Nexus was not what Yuna expected. From a rebel leader, he was small, barely reaching her shoulder, with blue-green skin and large, intelligent eyes. His people, the Zilani, had been part of the Empire for 200 years. "Why did you rebel?" Yuna asked simply. Nexus laughed bitterly. "Why? Because the Empire treats us like slaves. They take 80% of everything we produce. They give us no say in how we are governed. When we complain, they send ships to remind us of our place. What would make you consider staying in the Empire? Nothing. We have tried negotiation for 50 years. The Empire does not listen." Yuna pulled out a tablet computer, the same kind that had impressed Admiral Vextar weeks ago. What if the Empire could listen? What if there was a way for every member world to have a voice in Imperial policy? She showed Nexus something that had never existed in the Valerian Empire. A voting system. Real democracy where every world, every species, every citizen could participate in making decisions. "Impossible," Nexus said. "The Empire is too big. There are thousands of worlds, millions of species. How could everyone have a voice? On Earth, we have countries with billions of people, and they all get to vote for their leaders. The technology exists to make it work on a galactic scale." Yuna spent the next hour explaining human ideas about government. Representative democracy, where people chose leaders who spoke for them. Constitutional rights that protected everyone equally. Economic systems that shared wealth instead of concentrating it. "These ideas," Nexus said slowly, "they work on your worlds. They work on every human world. Not perfectly, but better than any alternative we have tried. And the Empire would accept these changes? The Emperor is old and tired of the old ways. He has given the Terran Federation permission to try new approaches. If they work here, they could work everywhere." For the first time since they started talking, Nexus looked hopeful. "What would you need from us?" "Trust, time, and help teaching these ideas to other worlds." The Kepler system became the first test of human-style government in the Valerian Empire. Instead of crushing the rebellion, Yuna helped establish the first democratically elected planetary council in Imperial history. Instead of taking 80% of the world's production, the new system took only 20% for Imperial services and left the rest for local needs. The results were immediate and dramatic. Productivity increased, crime decreased. Most importantly, other nearby systems started asking questions about these Terran reforms. Scientist Lee, meanwhile, had made a discovery that explained why human ideas worked so well in the galaxy. She had been studying biological data from hundreds of species looking for patterns. "Most intelligent species evolved on stable worlds," she explained to the others. "Worlds with predictable weather, stable climates, few natural disasters. Their thinking reflects this. They like order, tradition, doing things the way they have always been done." "But humans are different," June asked. "Completely different. Earth is chaos. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, climate changes every few thousand years. Humans had to be adaptable or we would have died out. We are natural problem solvers because problems are all we have ever known." This explained so much. Why human technology was more efficient. Humans had to make things work with limited resources. Why human government ideas appealed to unhappy species. Humans understood what it was like to need change. Why human military strategies worked. Humans had been dealing with chaos and conflict their entire evolutionary history. "We are not smarter than other species," Lee concluded. "We are just more flexible." Prince Mordan, the Emperor's youngest son, had been watching the human reforms with great interest. Unlike his older brothers, who preferred traditional imperial ways, Mordan believed the Empire needed to change or die. "The humans are right," he told his father. "Look at what they accomplished in the Kepler system. 3 months ago, those worlds were in open rebellion. Now they are more loyal to the Empire than ever." Emperor Kaleth was impressed but worried. "The old nobility will not accept these changes easily. They depend on the current system for their power." "Then maybe it is time for new nobility," Mordan said boldly. The test came when Imperial Admiral Corvin, one of the most traditional commanders in the fleet, refused to follow Admiral Yuna's orders. He believed aliens should not command Imperial ships, especially not aliens from an unknown federation. "I will not take orders from a primitive species," he declared. "The Empire has ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years without human help." But when Admiral Corvin tried to rally support for his position, he discovered something shocking. Most of the fleet officers preferred serving under human command. The humans were more efficient, more fair, and more successful than traditional Imperial commanders. "Admiral Yuna treats all species equally," said one Valerian officer. "She promotes based on ability, not birth. Under her command, I have learned more about tactics in 3 months than I learned in 30 years under Imperial admirals." The situation came to a head when Admiral Corvin attempted to arrest Admiral Yuna for corrupting Imperial forces. Instead, his own officers arrested him for insubordination. Emperor Kaleth realized what had happened. The humans had not just advised his empire, they had transformed it. The old system of rule by birth and tradition was being replaced by rule by ability and merit. And the transformation was happening because people wanted it, not because anyone was forcing it. "Captain June," the Emperor said during their next meeting, "I think your Terran Federation has won a war without fighting a single battle." "We never wanted to win a war, Your Majesty. We just wanted to help. Perhaps that is why you succeeded." But success brought new problems. Other galactic powers had noticed the changes in the Valerian Empire, the rapid reforms, the increased efficiency, the new technologies. It all made the Empire look stronger and more dangerous than it had been in centuries. The hegemony, a rival power that controlled a quarter of the galaxy, began mobilizing its forces. The Collective, a union of machine intelligences, started probing Imperial defenses. Ancient enemies who had avoided the Empire for generations suddenly saw it as a growing threat. "We may have solved the Empire's internal problems, Admiral," Yuna reported, "but we have created external ones. The galaxy thinks we are preparing for conquest." "Are we?" Prince Mordan asked. June looked around the room at his fellow humans. They had started as 12 people on a single ship. Now they were effectively running an empire. The responsibility was enormous. "No," he said finally. "We are preparing for something much more difficult than conquest. We are preparing to convince the galaxy that there is a better way to live." Chancellor Hyun stared at the holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked hostile fleets. Yellow dots showed neutral systems watching and waiting. Green dots represented worlds that had adopted the new Terran-style government. There were far more green dots than anyone had expected, but the red ones were bigger and closer. "The situation is not good," General Park reported to the Emergency Council. "The hegemony has mobilized 1,000 warships. The Collective has activated dormant factory worlds to build more machines. Even the neutral zone species are choosing sides." 6 months had passed since the humans accidentally became leaders of a galactic revolution. What had started as a simple bluff to avoid being destroyed by aliens had become something no one could have imagined. The Valerian Empire no longer existed. In its place was the Galactic Federation, a voluntary union of worlds that followed human principles of democracy, equality, and efficiency. The transformation had been rapid and mostly peaceful. World after world had seen the success of the early reforms and demanded similar changes. Within weeks, the old system of imperial rule had crumbled, replaced by elected councils and representative government. The former Emperor Kaleth had become the first elected chancellor of the new federation, winning by the largest margin in galactic history. But success had made enemies. The other galactic powers saw the Federation's rapid growth as a threat to their own systems of control. They were probably right. "Sir," Ambassador Rin said to Captain June, "we are receiving surrender offers from 17 more systems. They want to join the Federation before the war begins, and demands from 43 others that we stop spreading chaos in their territories," added Diplomat Quan. June rubbed his temples. He had become the galactic coordinator, essentially the leader of 3,000 worlds, but he still felt like a ship captain who had gotten in way over his head. "What does our intelligence say about enemy capabilities?" "They have more ships," General Park said bluntly. "More weapons, more resources. If this becomes a straight fight, we will lose. Then we don't make it a straight fight, said Admiral Una. She had just returned from the border regions where Federation and hegemony fleets were staring at each other across empty space. We do what humans do best, which is, we adapt, we innovate, and we convince our enemies that fighting us is the wrong choice. The plan they developed was ambitious even by human standards. Instead of preparing for war, they would prepare for the largest diplomatic mission in galactic history. Every major power would be invited to a conference on the neutral world of Haven, not to negotiate surrender or territorial divisions, but to discuss something that had never been tried before: galactic government. You want to unite the entire galaxy? Asked Prince Mordan, who had become one of their most trusted allies. Why not? June replied. We united 3,000 worlds without firing a shot. The principles that work on a planetary scale should work on a galactic scale. The other powers will never agree to it. Then we make them an offer they cannot refuse. The conference on Haven was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Representatives from every major civilization attended, along with delegations from hundreds of minor species that had never been invited to such gatherings before. The humans had insisted that every intelligent species, no matter how small or primitive, should have a voice. The hegemony came expecting to negotiate the Federation's surrender. The collective came expecting to analyze human weaknesses. The other powers came expecting to divide up Federation territory. None of them expected what actually happened. We are not here to surrender, June announced to the assembled delegates. We are not here to make territorial concessions. We are here to offer something better than war. He activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy in detail. Every world, every species, every trade route and resource flow. It was the most complete galactic map ever created. This is what we are fighting over, he said. Territory, resources, the right to rule other beings. But what if there was enough for everyone? What if, instead of fighting over a limited pie, we made the pie bigger? Dr. Hana stepped forward with technical displays showing Federation efficiency improvements. In 6 months, our member worlds have increased production by an average of 300%. Poverty has decreased by 80%. Technological advancement has accelerated by orders of magnitude. Not because we force these changes, but because people work harder when they have hope. Trader Bin showed economic projections. A unified galactic government could eliminate trade wars, standardize currencies, and create supply chains that work across species barriers. The economic benefits alone would be worth trillions of credits per year. But the most powerful presentation came from scientist Lee. She had data from thousands of species showing patterns that had never been noticed before. Every intelligent species faces the same ultimate challenge, she explained. Population growth, resource depletion, technological stagnation, and social breakdown. The traditional response is conquest. Take resources from others instead of finding better ways to use your own. But conquest only delays the problem. She showed projections of galactic civilization under different scenarios. If current trends continue, we will have a galactic war that destroys half of all intelligent life within 200 years. Population will crash, technology will be lost, and the survivors will spend millennia recovering. But if we work together, if we share knowledge and resources efficiently, we can support 10 times our current population at 10 times our current standard of living. The choice is cooperation or extinction. The debate that followed was intense. Some delegates argued that their species was naturally superior and deserved to rule others. Some claimed that democracy was impossible on a galactic scale. Others insisted that their traditional ways were better than human innovations. But slowly, the practical benefits became impossible to ignore. Representatives from worlds that had joined the Federation described their improvements in detail. Economic data showed the benefits of cooperation over competition. Most importantly, citizens from dozens of species testified about how their lives had improved under the new system. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The collective, the machine intelligences that everyone expected to oppose biological cooperation, announced their support for the Galactic government proposal. "We have analyzed all possible outcomes," their primary representative stated. "Cooperation produces better results than competition in 97% of scenarios. The human model is mathematically superior to all alternatives." One by one, other delegations announced their support, not because they were forced to, but because the alternative was clearly worse. The final vote was not even close. The Galactic Federation was approved by 87% of represented species. The few holdouts were mostly small, isolated civilizations that preferred to remain independent. But the real test came 6 months later, when the new Galactic government faced its first major crisis. A rogue black hole, pushed off course by ancient technology, was heading directly toward the heavily populated core worlds. Traditional response would have been to evacuate the most important species and let the others face their fate. Instead, the Federation mobilized every available resource from every member world: Valerian gravity manipulators, collective computing power, hegemony industrial capacity, and human coordination, all working together. The operation to redirect the black hole was the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. It worked. Billions of lives were saved, and every species contributed something essential to the solution. More importantly, every species saw that the new system could protect them in ways that individual empires never could. Captain June stood on the observation deck of the Federation headquarters, looking out at the stars. The communications center was buzzing with activity as representatives from newly contacted civilizations asked to join the Federation. 3 new species had been discovered just this week, and all of them wanted to be part of something they had never seen before: a galaxy at peace. "Any regrets?" asked Dr. Hana, joining him at the window. "About accidentally becoming the leader of a galactic civilization?" "Only every day. We could go home, you know, back to Earth. Let them know what happened out here." June smiled. "We will, eventually. But first, I think we should send them a message." He activated his personal communicator and set it to transmit toward Earth. Somewhere in the Sol system, radio telescopes would eventually pick up his signal. "Earth Control, this is Captain June of the Terran Federation ship Seeker. Mission update: we are not alone. We made contact with galactic civilization and, well, it's a long story. Prepare for first contact. We're going to need more humans." He paused, thinking about everything that had happened since that first accidental jump. 12 people in one small ship had somehow convinced thousands of alien civilizations to try something that had never been done before: working together instead of fighting each other. "Also," he added, "tell them to hurry. Running a galaxy is harder than it looks, and we could use some help." The message would take years to reach Earth, but when it did, humanity would learn that their first steps into the galaxy had somehow become steps toward a better universe for everyone.